Welcome to the 10-Minute Treasurer. My name's Jeff Pospisil. And in this one, I'm continuing my Church Foundation series where I'm following along with the bylaws from a church foundation. It's Grand Forks Wesley United Methodist Church, and they did an excellent job on it. And I make the link to that template available in the description. So we're going to look over fiscal matters, which I mean we're going to look at budgets and transactions, and we're also going to look at indemnification, so how we protect especially our board members from legal risks. And the reason I'm doing this is either if you're going to be setting up a church foundation or if you want to maybe adjust your own bylaws to maybe make it a little bit better for how your church foundation functions. So we're going to start with the fiscal year, and this might seem like a throwaway one, but it is important that your church foundation's fiscal year aligns with your church's fiscal year. I think it makes sense for reporting purposes, as well as when you're doing the audit, and we're going to talk about the audit later. So I do think these should match up. The next one is contracts. And again, contracts, it's important to have something in your bylaws that states who is authorized to come into any kind of agreement or contract. So let's just say you want to start working with an investment company, and you might have to sign a contract. Who can do that? How does it get authorized? Another one is, let's just say you receive real estate. Somebody bequests a house or some land to you. To enter into a purchase agreement to sell it, then you will need to have some kind of bylaws to say who can sign off on that, who can execute it. So that's the important part of this, is who can execute a contract. And the last one is loans. And loans, just to make very clear, it is not okay for officers and directors to take a loan from the foundation. But I do like it that it just leaves it open in case you do need to take out a loan. Because again, think about it. If you imagine that somebody leaves you a house in their will, and you receive the house, and maybe you need to do $20,000, $30,000 of improvements to get it to ready for sale. Well, this would allow you, instead of pulling money from the foundation, to maybe take out a short-term loan to do that. So there might be a reason that you'd have to do that, and I like just having the option, just more options in going forward. The next section starts with talking about budgets, and a budget is always good. It's nice to know your plan for how much you're planning on spending on meeting expenses, or maybe on promoting the church foundation. Those things are nice to think about. Another thing to think about is how much you're planning on making for disbursements from the foundation. So that would be helpful to know for the board itself as well as for the church. The other part, this section 7.5 through 7.7, this is basically laying on the board that internal controls are part of your responsibility. So how money leaves the foundation, how it gets deposited, if there's electronic transfers, all that is still part of your responsibility. So adopting some kind of a financial policy manual would probably be very helpful. So even though you're probably not going to have a lot of transactions, it's important to know exactly how those should be cared for. Now, here is what I think is one of the more important ones, is that not only do you have to maintain good records, you should know that already, that there should be a good set of records, but the church's audit committee is what audits the church foundation. So this is the time for the church to really look and make sure everything is running well with the church foundation. So again, the church foundation is owned by the church. And so the church will have the duty to actually audit the church foundation. Lastly, we come to indemnification. So that's where we're covering the directors and the officers for their work on behalf of the church foundation when it comes to legal matters. So there's a couple of scenarios. So let's say one of the officers is stealing money. This does not cover you. The foundation is not going to cover your legal costs because you're stealing money. But let's just say, for example, that somebody sues you because they don't like how the foundation is is handling the funds. There's some kind of a disagreement. Maybe it's with a donor restriction or something like that. So they sue the foundation and they sue all the directors, or maybe they sue the treasurer of the foundation. Whatever. This would cover you as long as we're assuming that you are working within the scope of your duties and responsibilities. So if you are named individually as part of this lawsuit, you would be covered. And that's also why it's important then to have insurance. And normally it's not too expensive, but you do want some insurance, and you want it. I always like Brotherhood Mutual, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a link to them in the description because they really understand the church world, or Church Mutual is also a good one too. But you want somebody that understands the church world and some of the specific risks that we have, and then also be able to explain to them what your duties are. I mean, we're a church foundation, so we don't have youth group, we don't have children's ministry and all those other kind of things, but we are handling money and we are working in the religious world. So how do we need to be protected for that? How are we going to, so you at least need directors and officers coverage, plus something probably to protect for how the funds are used or misused. And that does bring us to the end. By the way, I just want to thank Grand Forks Wesley again for allowing me to use their bylaws for a template. I think that was a huge contribution. By the way, this church also closed recently, and they are using their the sale of their building and some of their collected assets from their foundation to help launch a new church in the Grand Forks area. So I thought that's a really cool story, that even though there's an ending to the current congregation, hopefully there's a bright new beginning coming forward.